branch out into different plexuses, okay? Yung one example of a plexus that is very important that we have discussed in Anatomy 1 is the brachial plexus, okay? If you can remember, yung roots ng ating brachial plexus would come from the inside ng mga vertebra from our spinal cord. So, kumbaga parang nandito yung origin ng ating mga spinal cord. So, it means to say that if there is an injury to the brain, syempre, possibly apektado rin yung ating spinal cord, and of course, affected din yung function ng ating upper extremities. So, one example that I can think of, okay, to illustrate this, is at birth, okay? Especially during vaginal deliveries. Usually kasi yung mga children, yung mga babies na dinedeliver vaginally, nauuna talaga yung head nila than the rest of the body. So this is the normal presentation at birth, okay? The head comes first. So kapag ka na-emerge na yung head ng baby, papalabas ng vagina, what physicians do or what people who deliver babies do is to place their fingers dun sa base ng neck, dun sa harap at sa likod. And then after that, we have to free the shoulders papalabas ng vaginal canal. So what we do is to make traction using the head of the baby. So up and down, left and right para i-free yung shoulders out of the vaginal canal. So in rare cases, okay, it is very rare but it is not impossible that sometimes there can be injuries that can be inflicted to this part of the body, okay, or to the neck of the baby. So you can either have ruptures kapag ka napunit, okay, napunit, or completely na-transect yung nerve dun sa any part of the brachial plexus. So that is one injury that can happen at birth, and we call that as brachial plexus injury, okay? Secondary to traumatic vaginal delivery. So what would happen in these patients, in these babies, since yung brachial plexus natin will control the movements and the sensation of the upper extremities, this could happen. Okay? One example of a brachial plexus lesion is Erb's palsy. So what happens there is that matatransect yung C5, C6, and C7. And if you can remember, ito yung parts ng katawan, ito yung parts ng ating brachial plexus that controls the motor sensation of the thumb and of the forefinger. So parang ganyan, okay, magiging ganyan, parang naka-waiter step yung position ng kamay in Erb's palsy. And another example, okay, is this type of injury, okay? Yung type of injury na ito, we call that as whiplash injury, and this commonly occurs kapag ka in car accidents, in motor vehicular accidents, especially kung walang headrest yung inuupuan ng driver. So kung titingnan ninyo, okay, take note at how the neck and the head moves. Okay, syempre meron tayong collision dyan. So the head of the body, okay, unang-una, ito yung at rest. And then kapag nag-collide na to another structure, to another vehicle, magkakaroon ng hyperextension of the neck. So what happens is that magkakaroon din ng breaks or fractures within the vertebra. And what have we said earlier? The vertebra is the structure that holds your spinal cord. Pero hindi pa natatapos dito because after hyperextension, there will also be flexion. Okay? A very pointed flexion. Okay? So, mas lalong nag-aggravate yung fracture natin dito. So, this is one of the reasons why, okay, nagkakaroon ng injuries to the spinal cord. Okay? So, one of my colleagues back in 2022, kakapasa lang namin ng board exam dati, nagkaroon siya na-involve siya sa motor vehicular accident wherein na-transect yung C6 na cervical vertebra niya, okay? So, since na-injure yung C6 niya, hindi makagalaw yung buong katawan niya, okay? Pero kapag yung mga ganong injuries kasi, it also depends on how severe it was. Kaya yung sa kanya nadadaan pa naman ng physical therapy, ngayon nakapaglakad siya at nakapaggalaw ng mga upper extremities niya but with support, okay? So that was 3 years ago already. Okay? Now, let's talk about the major bones of the skull. Since our topic for this morning is about the surface anatomy of the head and neck, it would be impossible for us to study that way if we do not know the major bones of the skull. So remember, itong part na ito ng lecture is only basics lang. Your basics only. Kasi, I'm sure na nakalimutan na natin lahat, okay? Myself included. So, if you can remember, this is your entire skull. Your skull is divided into your cranium and your facial bones. Again, your cranium, or we call that as calvarium, it is the part of the body that encloses your brain. So, the reason kung bakit buto yung surrounding nito is because the brain needs maximum protection from trauma, from anything. Okay, kaya ganyan ang cover natin for the brain. And also, your cranium is attached to your facial bones. So this is where you will see your maxilla, your mandible, zygomatic, nasal bone, etc. Okay. Now, these are the different cranial bones. If you can remember, that's your bones can either be divided into paired and unpaired. Pag sinabing paired, meaning to say in one cranium, there are two pieces of that same bone. Pag sinabing unpaired, you only have one. So let's tally, okay? Let's have a quick rundown of your cranial bones. So first, okay, nakalabel ng number 1, this is the frontal bone and it is unpaired. So this is the lateral view of your frontal bone. Next, okay, this is your occipital bone. This is at the posterior and inferior part of your skull. So we only have one, just like your frontal bone. So that is the occipital bone. Moving on, number 3, okay, dito sa loob, is a very large bone that is wing-like in structure and we call that as sphenoid bone. Hindi siya gaano nakikita from the outside of the skull, okay, kasi nasa loob siya. Okay, so that is the sphenoid bone. Next is the ethmoid bones. This is attached to the sphenoid bone. And just like your sphenoid bone, it is also unpaired. Now, let's move on to the paired bones. Okay? So, number 5 and number 6, itong color pink. Okay? These are the parietal bones. You have the left and the right. So, at the back of this, they are joined together by a suture. So that's number 5 and number 6, the parietal bones. Number 7 and number 8, those are your temporal bones. So itong temporal bones, 2 piraso din siya. So they are located approximately at the area of your ears, okay? Superior to your ears. Now moving on, okay? Number 9, this one is your mandible or your jawbone. So, in the human body, we all have one. Isa lang yung mandible natin or yung jawbone natin. Okay? Number 10, still under the unpaired. Okay? So, number 10, this is the wait lang, ano nga ba to? Wait lang, I forgot what this one is. Pero this is an unpaired. This is also an unpaired bone. I will get back to you on that. Number 11 and number 12, okay? These are also your paired bones. Okay? Nakalimutan ko kasing lagyan ng, sorry for that. Nakalimutan ko siyang lagyan ng labels kaya na-forget ko na rin siya. Sabi ko sa inyo, pati ako nakakalimot din eh. Pero I will get back to you on that sa laboratory natin. So number 13, number 14, those are your lacrimal bones. So they are placed directly anterior to your lacrimal ducts of your eyes. Number 15 and number 16, they are paired bones. These are your maxillary bones, 15 and 16. 17 and 18, 2 piraso din. These are your nasal bones. 19 and number 20, these structures over here. Okay? So, these are your inferior concave. Meaning to say, kapag pinasok natin yung ilong, we have sets of bones over there, and the inferior most and the one that is most visible from the outside, these are your inferior concave bones. Number 21 and number 22, these are your zygomatic bones. So this is also palpable. Okay, sa labas ng katawan, if you would palpate doon sa pinaka-apple ng cheek ninyo, this is the zygomatic bone. Okay, zygomatic bone. So basically, this is just a quick rundown of the different bones of the skull. And if you can remember that the bones of the skull can either be divided into two. So we have the cranial and the facial bones. Your cranial bones, in total, we have a total of 8 bones. This includes both the paired and unpaired bones. And for the facial bones, we have 14 bones in total. Okay? So sabi natin kanina, they can either be classified as to paired and unpaired. Okay? So the paired cranial bones are the following. So we only have 2. Okay? That's the parietal and the temporal bone. So ito yung unang slide na pinakita ko sa inyo kanina. And for the unpaired bones, ito yung mas marami sa kanila. So we have the frontal, occipital, sphenoid, and the ethmoid. Okay? Those are your cranial bones. On the other hand, for the facial bones, kung mas marami ang unpaired dito sa cranial bones, dito sa facial bones, mas marami naman ang paired. Okay? So we have the following bones: the palatine, maxilla, nasal, okay, inferior nasal concave, and the zygomatic bone. And for the unpaired bones, we have the vomer and the mandible. Okay? Just a quick study tip. Okay, sabi natin nung orientation that one of the best tips that we can have in anatomy is to give mnemonics for things that we have to enumerate. Okay? So kung titingnan ninyo, excuse me, for example, ganyan. So, syempre, maganda kung mag-create tayo ng mnemonics for this. Pero, instead of memorizing first on, okay, head on, kung ano itong mga ito, it would be easier for you to remember that the cranial bones has less paired bones, while the facial bones has less unpaired bones. So, dito muna kayo mag-start na mag-memorize. Okay? And then, from there, saka nyo na i-enumerate yung mga mas mararami. Okay? So that is one tip that I can give you for this slide. Okay? Now let's talk about the anatomical position. Okay? So why do we have an anatomical position? So in everybody, in all students, or even sa mga practitioners who study or take up anatomy, we have to follow the anatomical position for the purpose of standardization. Okay? Para maging standard siya and para mas easier across anatomy textbooks, across different atlases. Okay? So yung anatomical position that we have known from general anatomy 1 is, okay, ito siya. So a standard body the anatomical position is a standard body posture that describes the human body, and it has the following components. So first and foremost, the head must be erect. Okay? Meaning to say, the head must be erect kasi kapag naka-bow down ka, hindi nakikita yung jaw. Kapag nakaangat yung ulo mo, hindi rin nakikita yung vertex ng katawan mo. So, a best representative for that is to have your head erect. Next, the eyes must be directed forward. Okay? It should look straight across. The trunk of the body must be midline or straight. So, the vertebra, okay, the spinal canal must also be in the midline para maging midline din and straight yung ating trunk. Next, the hands are on the sides, okay, with the palm facing forward. And then lastly, the heels of the feet should be together but slightly apart at about 30-degree angles to each other. So this is the standard anatomical position that we will follow for the rest of the body. But since this is head and neck, we also have a different anatomical position to follow. Okay? So for the head, okay, the head is said to be in the anatomical position when the inferior margins of the bony orbits and the superior margins of the external auditory meatus is on one horizontal plane. So we call that as the Frankfurt plane. So kung titingnan ninyo, medyo wordy itong definition na ito, but let's discuss, okay? Isa-isahin natin yung components ng Frankfurt plane na ito. So again, to reorient you, this is the bony orbit or yung eye socket natin. Ito yung dito nakalagay yung eyeballs natin. And it says in the Frankfurt plane, okay, that we have to take note of this structure that is the inferior margin of the bony orbits. So yung baba ng ating bony orbits, yung pag kinapa natin yung bony orbits natin, okay, yung inferior margin na ito, plus, okay, the second component is within the external auditory meatus or yung ating ear canal. So yung ear canal natin, ito yung structure na ito, and it was said that you have to take note of the superior margins of the ear canal. So kung superior margin, ito siyang nasa taas because this one is inferior. Sa harap anterior, sa likod posterior. Dito sa taas is the superior margin. So if you take a look at the superior margin, okay, ito yung ear canal natin, nandito siya sa taas ng butas ng tenga. So it says in the Frankfurt plane that the superior border of the external auditory meatus and the inferior margin of the bony orbit should be in one horizontal plane. Okay? Yung horizontal plane na yun should be pantay. Okay? Should be following a degree of, degree yan, 0. Okay? Basta yan, nasa isang horizontal plane lang dapat sila. So when the person is facing in front, this is how it should look like. Okay? And we call this as the Frankfurt plane. Now, let's talk about the surface landmarks of the head. So, dito muna tayo ito yung last part ng ating lecture for this morning. Magkita na lang ulit tayo sa Thursday for your face-to-face session. Okay? So, these are the surface landmarks of the head. Now, the first landmark that is very notable is the head of the mandible. So, the head of the mandible is anterior to the external ear, and it is behind and inferior to the posterior end of the zygomatic arc. So, the head of the mandible is best found by opening and closing the jaw. So, how to locate this? Okay. So, first is to locate your ear. Of course, you all know where your ear is. And then, anterior to it, okay, place your finger. Okay? Okay, place your finger. And then, para malocalize nyo talaga kung nasan yung head ng ating mandible, you have to open and close your jaw. Okay? So, yung nafe-feel nyo na patusok na nandyan, okay, this is the head of the mandible. Okay? Ito yung head ng ating mandible na gumagalaw-galaw underneath our finger kapag kinakapa natin dito. Okay? So, other than that, okay, that's the easiest way on how to locate the mandible. But aside from that, okay, it is located behind and inferior to the zygomatic arc. So, this is your zygomatic bone, diba? So, this is your cheekbone, and the arc that connects your temporal bone and the zygomatic bone is called the zygomatic arc. So, ito yung dalawang bones na yan. So, this is another way on how to locate the mandible. Moving on, we have the zygomatic arc. Okay? Zygomatic arc bone. So, the zygomatic arc, di ba, pinapalpate ko sa inyo kanina, yung apples ng cheek, that is the zygomatic bone, but that is not the zygomatic arc, okay? Yung zygomatic arc natin is between the zygomatic bone and the temporal bone. So this is this area over here. Next is the mastoid process, okay? Another very remarkable landmark. Okay, itong mastoid process natin, this is a large bony protuberance that is found posterior to the inferior aspect of the external auditory meatus. So again, medyo wordy siya, so let's discuss muna. Okay, your mastoid process, to locate this, you have to go dun sa likod or posteriorly to the neck, so sa likod nitong earlobe, and then you have to go inferiorly. So this is the approximate location of the mastoid process. Yung patusok na nafe-feel nyo, yung buto na nafe-feel nyo over there, is the mastoid process. And this process is important because it attaches the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Okay? If you can palpate, okay, di ba meron tayo parang a bony na structure over there, and if you go towards this direction, okay, you would palpate the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Okay, moving on. We also have the external occipital protuberance. The external occipital protuberance, okay, i-dissect natin isa-isa yung word na ito. Okay, so the external occipital protuberance, meaning to say sa occipital bone, because we have the word occipital. Protuberance, it only means to say meron tayong bulging over there, and external because we can palpate it even sa labas. So this structure is posterior, located posterior and midline of the skull. So kahit may buhok kayo, you will still be able to palpate this structure. So this structure is where the contour of the skull curves sharply forward. Okay? Meaning to say, ayun nga, ito yung structure before the skull curves sharply forward. And also, it marks the point superficially where the back of the neck joins the head. Okay, so this structure also gives attachment to the nuchal ligament, which is this ligament over here. So this is the skull, ito yung anterior, ito yung posterior. So this is where the nuchal ligament attaches to as it hovers over the spinous processes of the vertebra. Next is the vertex. This is another very prominent surface landmark. So the vertex, this only means to say the highest point of the head in the anatomical position. So yung pinakabungbunan natin, that is the vertex. So the vertex, this marks the approximate point on the scalp where there is a transition from cervical to cranial innervation. Again, this definition is a bit wordy, so i-explain ko later. So another importance of the vertex that we all know is this is how we measure our height. Since this is known to be the highest point in the head, in the human body, dito tayo nagbe-base ng ating height. Okay? So sabi kanina, it marks the approximate point on the scalp where there is a transition of innervations. So this is an illustration to demonstrate that. So the highest point, okay, yung pinaka-midpoint, yung pinaka-highest, is called the vertex. So any structure that is anterior to the vertex, lahat ng mga highlighted structures dito is innervated by cranial nerve number 5 or the trigeminal nerve. So yung nakikita nyong different na colors dito, yung ophthalmic, maxillary, and mandibular, these are all branches of the trigeminal nerve. And posterior to the vertex, meaning to say from this point, papalikod, this is now innervated by the cervical spinal nerves. Okay? So that is one importance of knowing where your vertex is. Moving on, we have the glabella. So the glabella is the prominence above the nasal bridge and the supraorbital ridge. So in between the eyebrows, you would palpate a structure that bulging over there, and we call that as your glabella. So it is between the supraorbital ridges. So this is the supraorbital ridge, nasa taas, and this is the ridge. Okay, so in between those two structures is the glabella. Moving on, we have the nasion, or nasion. So this is the midline depression at the nose, located at the junction of the nasofrontal sutures. So if this is the glabella, itong prominent na area over here, itong nasion naman, ito yung depression at the root of the nose. Okay, so do not be confused at the two terms. Again, glabella, ito yung bulging, ito yung enlargement dito. Sa part na ito, yung nasion, yung depression sa area na ito. So by the way, whenever you have nosebleed, kapag ka nag-nosebleed kayo, yung common practice kasi that we see is they apply cold compress to this area at nag-bleed yung nose. But actually, you have to put it here sa area ng depression na ito. So this is the nasion. Because mas malaki yung makokontrol natin kapag ka nag-nosebleed kayo at dito kayo nag-apply ng cold compress. Okay, next we have the supraorbital ridge. This was mentioned earlier. So this is also known as the supraciliary arc, and this is the bony ridge above the eye sockets. This also marks the superior margin of the bony orbit. Okay, so ito yung supraorbital ridges natin. Supraorbital because it is above the orbit, the bony orbit, and ridge meron tayong konting or ridges in between, okay, this area. So ito yung supraorbital ridge natin. Next, we also have the passion. The passion is the anterior midpoint of the foramen magnum. So this is the foramen magnum, itong structure that is in pink. This is the foramen or yung butas in the skull where the brain transitions into the spinal cord. Okay, so dito na siya nag-exit ng ating brain. So the anterior midpoint or the anterior surface of the foramen magnum is called as the passion. And then we also have the nasion. Nasion is the median point of the mandible. Okay, and the midline portion of the chin. So again, this is very easy to locate. You only have to palpate for the tip of the chin, yung pinaka-pointed na part ng ating chin, and at the midline, that is the nasion. Now let's move on to the fontanelles and sutures. Okay? When we say fontanelles, these are the soft spots that are located in the skulls of newborns and infants. So kapag sinabing fontanelles, they are only located or they are only found in the newborns and infants. So this is the superior surface of the brain, and the fontanelles are the following. So we have the anterior and the posterior fontanelle. So actually in the newborn, we have 6 fontanelles, but the largest are these two, yung anterior and posterior lang. So we only have to discuss those 2 fontanelles. So the fontanelles is also where the bony plates of the skull have not yet fused together. Meaning to say, yung butas kung saan pa lang yung mga different plates ng bone, ito yung fontanelles. So your fontanelles so allow further growth of the brain and skull during infancy. Because once it transitions or once it becomes bone, hindi na siya masyadong ma-adjust. Unlike kapag ka-fontanelle pa lang siya, okay, dito sa fontanelles kasi ligaments pa lang ang nag-e-enclose sa kanila, so that makes it more flexible. Okay? Kapag kunwari yung ulo ng baby palabas ng vaginal canal, okay, yung anterior fontanelle would allow yung adjustments or you would allow slight movements of the bony plates of the skull to facilitate easier passage papalabas ng vaginal canal. So the fontanelles, like what I've said earlier, we have 2. So we have the anterior fontanelle and the posterior. So these are the 2 major fontanelles. So the anterior fontanelle, ito yung nasa harap kasi anterior nga because this is anterior and this is posterior. The anterior fontanelle is a diamond-shaped fontanelle that closes within 18 to 24 months. So if you encounter a baby, wala pa silang 2 years old, most likely, if you palpate this area over here, naka-open pa yung anterior fontanelles nila. And then on the other hand, we have the posterior fontanelle. So yung anterior fontanelle natin is diamond in shape, while the posterior fontanelle is the smaller one. It is triangular and in shape, but it persists for up to 2 months only following birth. Okay, so between the two, your anterior fontanelle closes later, much later on in life because it is also larger compared dito sa triangular shape na posterior fontanelle. And one importance of the fontanelle, okay, aside from facilitating easier delivery at birth, ay ito rin yung landmark natin when we do deliveries, tapos para alam namin kung yung head ng baby yung nakakapan namin when we do an IE. So kapag kunwari yung finger namin nandun na sa puwerta ng mother, we only have to palpate the fontanelle to know kung nasaan naka-orient yung face ni baby. Okay? So this is the difference between the skull of the newborn and the adult. So sabi natin kanina that the newborn skull has the two fontanelles, the anterior and the posterior. But kapag nag-adulthood na, eventually these fontanelles will close and this will be replaced by this structure that is called the bregma and the lambdoid suture. Okay, so kapag nag-close na, magiging meeting point na lang siya ng mga different bones. So this would tell you, itong fontanelles, this would tell you that you are looking at a skull of a newborn. Okay? Kapag wala ng fontanelle, meaning to say nag-close na, then adult na yung skull natin. Now moving on, so we have said earlier that when your fontanelles close, at kapag nag-merge na yung different bony plates of the skull, they now become sutures. Your sutures are fibrous joints that connects the bones of the skull. Since they are fibrous joints, they are not flexible. They are not as flexible as your anterior fontanelles. So what your sutures do is they connect the bones of the skull. So these sutures allow for slight movement of the bones during birth. And we have the following sutures. So first, let's talk about the bregma. So this is the bregma. This is the midline point at the junction of the coronal and the sagittal sutures. Okay, so where your sagittal and your coronal sutures would meet, that is called as the bregma. Okay, and this also serves as the remnant of the anterior fontanelle. Now moving on, we have the lambdoid suture. The lambdoid suture is here in this one. So this divides, or this is the midpoint of the sutures, okay, of the sagittal suture and the occipital suture. Okay, so this divides the parietal and occipital bones, and this is the remnant of the posterior fontanelle. Okay, so the reason why it is called as a lambdoid, because of its shape. So parang pag ganyan siya, it looks like lambda. Okay, yung Greek alphabet natin for lambda. And then we also have, this suture that is called the frontal suture. So this divides the frontal bone and it closes during childhood. Okay, so na-discuss na natin on how to distinguish between the skull of the newborn and the adult. So aside from having fontanelles dito sa skull ng mga newborns, meron din silang metopic suture, whereas sa mga adults wala na tayong ganyan. And also we have the coronal suture. So this is the structure over here. It divides the frontal bones and the parietal bones, but it persists for life, unlike your metopic or your frontal suture. And then we also have this area over here where 4 bones merges together. Okay, so that is the terion. So the terion is the area in the skull where the 4 bones meet. So we have the frontal bone, the temporal bone, the parietal bone, and we also have the sphenic bone. Okay, so ito yung bones natin that make up the pterion. So the pterion, its clinical significance is that it is the weakest part of the skull. Okay, it is the weakest part of the skull because puro sutures siya. Okay, yung connections ng apat na ito, hindi siya gawa sa buto, but rather, it is made up of sutures only, which makes it a weak part of the skull. And this part in the skull in particular is also where the middle meningeal artery runs underneath. Okay? So, kapag kunwari nagkaroon ka ng head-on collision, tapos dito ka nag-collide sa part na ito, you are very much prone to develop epidural hematoma, okay? So, madali kang magbe-bleed dito. So, this is the pterion. This is where your middle meningeal artery runs underneath. Okay? So, ito yung middle meningeal artery natin, and this is the approximate location of the pterion. Okay? And it is said that if you have a trauma to this area, you are prone to developing an epidural hematoma. So, ito yung hematoma natin. So, this is the normal appearance of a brain in an MRI, and this is how your epidural hematoma would look like. Okay? So, that is actually the last slide for this morning. Just a reminder to embrace discomfort, speak your heart, stand your ground, and show up even when it is hard. So, guys, do you have any other questions? Yung PowerPoint na ito,